This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Alright, and welcome to the GSMC Sports Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. And as always, I am your host, Jesse Tapia. Alright, it's May 1st. It's Tuesday. And it's the start of the month. Alright, let me tell you what we got going on today. Alright, obviously we had a bunch of basketball games going on over the weekend. Now we got a bunch of new series to talk about. So I'm going to do a little weekend recap. How the Celtics knocking off the Bucks. They ended up playing their game 1 against Philly for round 2 yesterday. We're actually going to talk about that for the second segment. All right, but nonetheless, like I said, for the first one, we're going to be talking about LeBron's game against Indiana. Pretty much going to talk a bit about the Cavs so far in the playoffs. Give my thoughts on that. Talk about Houston and all those teams. So a little bit of a weekend recap. Excuse me. All right, like I said, second segment, we had Philly and Boston playing yesterday. That was a fun game to watch. I'll give my thoughts on it and pretty much just look at it from both sides. It is game 1, so not really time to overreact or anything like that. Third segment, now that the draft is done, all right, over on Saturday, I'm going to give my thoughts on which teams I felt did well as far as the draft. And maybe we'll talk about a few teams I thought did poorly, okay? And then for the last segment, we're going to talk about anything else going on in the world of sports, as we always do, because that's just what we do on this podcast. All right, so it's going to be a fun one. We had we had one NHL game yesterday. Or did we have 2? Was it Nashville and Winnipeg yesterday also? I know it was LA versus San Jose. I watched that one, but I'm going to have to double check. But either way, like I said, for the fourth segment, we'll talk about anything else going on in the world of sports. So let's get into it. Let's talk about Game 7 between the Cavs and Pacers. All right, so obviously, do or die here. Series was back and forth. All right, LeBron would win one. Indiana would win one. Yes, I said LeBron. I mean, this Cavs team has just been brutal, but nonetheless, Cavs won this one 105-101. You got Thaddeus Young, who dropped in 14 points, 10 rebounds, shot 6 of 13. Bojan Bogdanovic didn't really play well at all, had 3 points, shot 1 of 9, 1 of 7 from the three-point line. Miles Turner, I feel, was a disappointment in the entire series. He only went 2 of 3 from the field, had 8 points, 4 rebounds. Darren Collison played well, had 23 points, 2 assists, shot 9 of 13. Victor Oladipo had 30 points, 6 assists, 12 rebounds, shot 10 of 21. Let's see, off the bench, you had Domantas Sabonis with 10 points, but he did shoot 3 of 10 there. For the Cavs, you had Kevin Love, who played okay. I mean, he went 5 of 13 from the field, 4 of 8 from the three-point line, had 14 points, 6 rebounds. Tristan Thompson got the start in this one. He had 15 points, 10 rebounds there, shot 5 of 6. Korver struggled in this one, going 1 of 7 from the field, had 3 points. JR had 11 points in this one, shot 3 of 9. I mean, 8 of those shots came from the three-point line. Off the bench, like the guys they traded for, Nance, Hill, and Hood. Let's see, and Clarkson, they combined for 12 points out of the 4 players there. Nance had 1 point, 4 rebounds. Clarkson had 0 points. George Hill had 11 points, but, I mean, he only took 3 shots, hit 1 of them, hit 9 free throws from the free throw line. And then Hood really didn't do much. He played 7 minutes, didn't take any shots there. Didn't hit any free throws either, so he finished with 0 points. Not great, all right? Like I said, Cavs ended up winning this one, though, 105-101. Obviously happy that you made it out the first round, but it's like, can you really be happy with these performances? Like, if you're a Cleveland fan, obviously, yeah, we made it out in the first round, but can you, like, how much longer are they, going to depend on LeBron to get them out of series that they probably shouldn't win? Because, I mean, if you think about it, let's say LeBron just averages about 28 a game in this round. All right, plays well, just averages 28. How much did he average for this series? I have to double check. There's no way that he had to average more than 30, I'm sure. Let me see if I can find out his playoff averages here. All right, well, let's say, yeah, he averages around 28, 27 a game or whatever. Doesn't score more than 30 in any game. They get swept. If LeBron is just LeBron instead of this guy that, like, LeBron completely elevated himself in this first round. Okay, and that's no doubt. If LeBron is just basically the best player on the court still, but not as, what's the word for it? I'm not really sure what the word for it is, but it's just like LeBron was like on another level, okay? And if LeBron doesn't hit that level, they don't make it out the first round. I mean, let alone, this guy was out here putting up 45 points, and they were barely winning by 4, okay? And that was the theme all series long. LeBron put up 40 plus twice, and I think the combined differential for those 2 games right there was like +7 for the Cavs, somewhere around there, okay? The Cavs are not a good basketball team. Yes, I did pick them to win the first round, but that was basically I'm basically picking LeBron to beat the Pacers, and that's what he did. All right, and if I'm the Pacers, obviously the silver lining here is that, like, pretty much what you're looking for is that, sure, we lost in the first round, but no one expected us to be here. We lost to the team with the best player. But in reality, you lost to a team that was inferior to you. All right? The Pacers are a better team than the Cavs. And that's not up for debate. Unless you're just telling me that one player on Cleveland automatically makes them better. And if you are, I can't get mad at that because that's exactly what happened. One player beat the Indiana Pacers, and that's kind of what I'm getting at here for Indiana. Sure, yeah, you got a nice little solid young team. All right, that should be good in the future. But how happy can you be at the fact that, yeah, you lost to one player? It's not like you lost to a Cleveland team who played tough the entire series and you barely missed out, but they were the better team. Like, no, Cleveland stunk in that series. Kevin Love was terrible, okay? Tristan Thompson didn't get any playing time till Game 7. Kyle Korver was okay. Wasn't very good at all in Game 7. J.R. Smith, that guy's been bad all year. The guys that they traded for, Nance, Hill, Clarkson, and Hood, nothing really notable about them in this series. Okay? Who else am I missing? Let's see. Like I said, I already brought up Kevin Love. Jeff Green was He was alright. No, he wasn't even alright. He was just there. Alright? This Cavs team doesn't have what it takes to make it to the finals. And this is what's going to run LeBron out of Cleveland. The fact that he's going to have to, going forward, take this team and pretty much be the, not just be the best player, but pretty much like lead them. He's going to have to do all the work here. All right? There's no way LeBron's coming back to this team. If you're 33 years old, all right, and you're LeBron, why on earth would you come back to a team at this point in your career where you're going to have to pretty much just play every minute of every game in order for this team to have a chance? Okay? Whereas you can go to a Philly, an LA even, or even Houston, and obviously you're going to be the best player. Obviously you're going to get yours, but it's not going to be as taxing. This team is terrible. Okay, and now they got the Raptors who won their game on Friday against Washington, the Game 6. And in that game, Kyle Lowry played well. I think he finished with 24 points, had like 7 assists, 6 rebounds, something along the lines of there. DeMar DeRozan was okay. I think he finished with like 16 points, I think. But nonetheless, it is a plus for the Toronto Raptors who have Kyle Lowry playing well in the playoffs. And he has played well. I've called him out a bit as far as I thought maybe he should be. Like his Game 7 numbers, I figured is what Kyle Lowry probably should be averaging throughout the playoffs. But if it's not, and this is just who Kyle Lowry is, it's fine with me. But either way, now we got the Cavs heading over to Toronto. Okay? Toronto is by far a better team than Indiana. It's not close. And it's just, fact of the matter is, like I said, LeBron in these games, in these 4 wins, obviously without a doubt, the best player in the game, scored about half their points, and they barely won by like 3, 4, 2, stuff like that. Okay, never had a game where it's like, oh yeah, they dominated from wire to wire or anything. All right. Let's say LeBron goes up for 45 points, means Cleveland scores about 105, because that's pretty much like the basis of it right there. That's pretty much how they were playing all series long. Okay, in those games, Indiana played terrible. I think there was just one game where Victor Oladipo actually played decently. And I think it was like game 2, I think, that they lost. Victor Oladipo played all right, but I think even then he didn't really shoot the ball too well from 3. Let's say Cleveland has one of those games, okay? LeBron plays well. They hit 105 or whatever. He scores like 45 points. You think Toronto's going to be as bad as Indiana was? I feel like on a bad day, Toronto hits 105. Okay? I really do not like Cleveland in this series at all. I mean, you can't expect LeBron by himself to go out and beat the Raptors because of the fact that, yeah, Indiana had guys like Oladipo and Collison, Bogdanovich, but they're not DeMar DeRozan or Kyle Lowry by any means. Okay? I would take Toronto's bench over Indiana's. I would take Toronto's starting 5 over Indiana's. All right? Toronto's just an overall better team. And it's just, I don't expect how Cleveland, I don't really see how Cleveland expects to get out of that second round. Just given how they played in the first. All right, LeBron, I understand. You want to say, oh, LeBron's going to save him? That's fine. But it's not going to happen. LeBron can't. Well, he can, but it's not going to matter because of the fact that Toronto's not going to be a team that lets you do that and win. Okay, Toronto's not going to lose to one player like Indiana did. And I'm sorry to be bagging on Indiana the entire time, but it's true. Indiana lost to one player. All right? It's not like they lost to Kevin Love, J.R. Smith, to an entire team. No, none of those guys on the Cavs could feel happy about themselves after that first round because they stunk. Kevin Love, terrible. J.R. Smith, terrible. The 4 guys they traded for, terrible. None of those guys could feel good about their performances. I could care less. Oh, yeah, a team wins. No. LeBron won that series. All right, and that's not going to... Toronto just simply won't let that happen against them. All right, they're not going to let one player beat them. I got Toronto winning this series in 6, and I think Vegas has Toronto winning this series. All right, I think Cleveland's the underdog in this series, and I think the last time a LeBron James-led team was the underdog in a playoff series was back in 2008. Okay? I mean, it's just ridiculous. Sure, be happy you made it out the first round, but Kevin Love doesn't play well, or anyone else for that matter besides LeBron. There's no way they make it out of this second round matchup. All right, so I'm very curious to see what ends up happening there. But like I said, I got the Raptors winning at 6. But as far as everything else that happened over the weekend, Utah ended up beating Oklahoma City on Friday, I think it was, or Saturday, to advance into the second round. They ended up playing against Houston, and we'll probably talk about that later on in the show or whatever. But yeah, so we had Utah and Oklahoma City playing. Utah beats them, and then you got Carmelo Anthony after in his little end of the year press conference pretty much talking about, he was asked if he would take a bench role, and he said absolutely not and all that. And it's just like the lack of awareness on this guy is just ridiculous. Okay? Carmelo Anthony isn't what he once was. All right, let's not forget, he came out the same year Dwayne Wade, LeBron, and all those guys came out. LeBron's the only one still standing pretty much. Okay? It's fine. Carmelo Anthony just realized, you know what? I'm not that good anymore. I need to take a lesser role. But he's not going to. So, I mean, I'm very curious to see what the Thunder do. Like, if they're going to try it. Well, they're going to try and bring back Paul George. So, it's a matter of Paul George wants to come back to the Thunder. There's no way Melo's leaving the Oklahoma City because of the fact that he opts in. He makes $28 million this year, and he's not getting that anywhere else. So, I mean, it's just a matter of if they can make it work a second time, or maybe they could actually build a team around him. Who knows? All right. And then with Utah, like I said, they faced off with Houston. They got blown out. Golden State blew out New Orleans. And then we had Game 7 between Boston and Milwaukee on Saturday, and that was just a wire-to-wire win for the Celtics there. Milwaukee played well, but they need a coach. All right, people are asking why Milwaukee hasn't gotten over the hump yet. Why are we still waiting for them to do that? And it's the coaching. All right, that's the easiest answer ever to any question. Or not to any question, but to that specific question. All right, everyone should know the only reason why Milwaukee hasn't elevated themselves is because of coaching. All right, Joe Prunty isn't the guy, and neither was Jason Kidd. But nonetheless, I don't know. All right, so we're actually going to wrap it up here. That's basically your basketball news over the weekend. Like I said, next up, we're going to be talking Philly versus Boston, Game 1 of Round 2. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. We spent that first segment basically just recapping all the NBA stuff that took place over the weekend. Cleveland ended up making it out of that first round against Indiana. It was tough, but LeBron did it. All right, Indiana should be excited for the future, but nonetheless realize that you did lose to one player in a series. Okay, like just realize that you lost to one guy beat you 4 times. It's just ridiculous. Okay. Utah ended up beating Oklahoma City, then getting blown out in their first round game against, in their second round matchup against Houston for game 1. Golden State still looks like the best team in the league. I mean, by far. And we had Boston winning game 7, and they ended up playing Philly for their game 1 in the second round on Monday. So we're going to talk about that now. All right. And going into the series, I mean, it was pretty much Philly's the favorite. They've looked the best out of all the teams in the East, and they're really not. I'm not going to go out and say that people were saying that they're not going to have trouble against the Celtics, but I mean, the Celtics really didn't seem like they were getting much of a chance. But either way, here we are, game 1, and Boston ended up winning 117-101. For Philly, you had Dario Saric, who had 12 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, shot 5-11, 0-4 from the three-point line. Was a monster on the offensive rebound side of the game in the first. Beginning of the game, like the first half, I would say. Unless he played okay, didn't really shoot the ball well. Robert Covington, the guy who also didn't shoot the ball well. All right, Goose 0 of 6 from the field. Had 3 points, though, because he had 3 free throws. Had 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals. So, I mean, he did help out as far as not shooting the ball, but shooting the ball, pretty important, I guess you could say. Joel Embiid stepped up, played well, had 31 points, 5 assists, 13 rebounds, shot 12 of 21 there. Ben Simmons had 18 points, 6 assists, 7 rebounds, shot 6 of 11. And with Ben Simmons, I mean, it seemed like, yeah, he did put up 18, 7, and 6. But it's like, if you were watching the game, it seemed like something was off with Ben Simmons a bit. First half, I think he finished with like 7 points, I think it was in the first half. I'd have to double check, but nonetheless, it just seemed like Ben Simmons really wasn't himself. Like the Celtics did drop a nice little game plan and like just to fluster him a bit. All right, J.J. Redick had 20 points, shot 7 of 13 from the field, 2 of 7 from the three-point line, had 3 rebounds, 3 assists. Off the bench, I mean, Philly's bench was, off the bench, I mean, it was pretty non-existent for Philly's entire backup players. Bellinelli had 11 points, shot 3 of 9, 1 of 2 from the three-point line, and then you had Ilyasova, who had 6 points, shot 2 of 9, 0 of 3 from the three-point line there. And I noticed with Philly, those are pretty much their only go-to guys off the bench is Ilyasova and Bellinelli because no one else besides T.J. McConnell played for more than 5 minutes, and McConnell played 6. So there's that. And as far as the whole Markelle Fultz watch, I mean, they didn't play in this one. Philly shot 42% from the field, 19% from 3. We're 5 of 26 from the three-point line, so obviously that's something that's been pretty irregular with them right there. I mean, in the Miami series, they were hitting everything they could from the three-point line. So we'll see if maybe it's just a game-win jitters or maybe there's a deeper problem. With the Celtics, you had Al Horford, who had 26 points, 4 assists, 7 rebounds, shot 10 of 12, 2 of 3 from the three-point line. Jason Tatum had a big game here, 28 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, shot 8 of 16, hit 1 3 in this one. Aaron Baines dropped in 6 points, 6 rebounds. Marcus Smart had 9 points, 1 steal, 1 rebound. Actually, 3 rebounds. Shot 3 of 12, 2 of 8 from the three-point line. Ever since he came back, I mean, it's not really a surprise either. Marcus Smart's never been a real good shooter, but it's just like this guy isn't even close right now. Terry Rozier had 29 points, 2 steals, 6 assists, 1 block, 8 rebounds. Shot 11 of 18, 7 of 9 from the three-point line. The Sixers could not stop Terry Rozier one bit yesterday. Like, it didn't matter who was on him or whatever. And maybe it was just Philly's defense because, I mean, it seemed like the little crossover moves Terry Rozier was putting down and all that. I mean, the fact that he was getting so open was a little ridiculous by Philly on defense. All right, off the bench, we had Semi Ojeleye, who was tasked with pretty much the job of guarding Ben Simmons when he was out there. Did well, I feel. He had finished with 3 points, 1 of 4 from the field, was a plus 11, so that means when he was out there guarding Ben Simmons, I mean, team did well. Marcus Morris had 11 points, 5 rebounds, shot 5 of 12, 1 of 4 from the three-point line, and then, I mean, Shane Larkin had 5 points there, had 4 assists, 3 rebounds, shot 1 of 6, so that's not great, but nonetheless, I mean, played all right. No Jaylen Brown in this one. Greg Monroe didn't play either. It seems like Greg Monroe with the Celtics, I mean, when he's out there, he does well, but it's like a matchup type of thing, all right? And then you had Yabusele and Abdel Nader only playing 2 minutes, which was at the very end of the game. So it seems like Boston was more so going with a 3-man lineup with Larkin, well, pretty much an 8-man rotation with Ojeleye, Morris, and Larkin coming off the bench, which I seem to work out pretty well, no? I mean, they did win 117-101, okay? And kind of it seemed that the theme for Philly after the game was they didn't play good defense and the long layoff because they didn't think the last time they played was last Tuesday. So it's been about almost a week, but about 6 days. All right. Or was 6 days. And that was one of the reasons why they came out flat, didn't play well. And I don't really buy into the whole, we had too much rest, so we came out rusty. Because, the fact of the matter is, let's say Philly comes out and pretty much plays well, beats Boston, then the excuse the other way is, Philly had a bunch of rest, they were ready to go. So the whole, we had rest, we were rusty, or the whole, we had rest, we were ready to go excuse doesn't really work for me because it's like it's either or. It's just you played well or you didn't. All right? There's no problem. And it's just Philly didn't play well here at all. Okay? Philly couldn't hit their shots, and I'm not really sure what it was, but their defense was atrocious. Okay? And going into this game, I mean, I knew that Jaylen Brown it was a game time decision and all that, and I said that if Celtics didn't have Jaylen Brown, then I had Philly winning. Because, I mean, if you look at Philly in the first round, they played extremely well. They were probably the best team in the East for their first round. Toronto had to go 6 games with Washington, and even then so, Toronto didn't look great. All right, Boston took Milwaukee to 7. Milwaukee took Boston. Either way, they went 7 games. Boston ended up winning Game 7. Cleveland looked like a dumpster fire other than LeBron James. So, I feel like it's pretty safe to say that Philly looked the best. All right. And it's just coming out of here. It's like one of those things where, you got Ilyasova and Bellinelli off the bench, but if Ben Simmons really isn't doing his thing, playing as well as he should be, those guys kind of fall back. Like, they don't play as well. All right. I think that's kind of what we saw yesterday. Brad Stevens had Horford guarding Simmons, he had Ojeleye guarding Simmons, and he had Smart guarding Simmons. Okay? And obviously, like I said, Simmons hit like 6 shots, got to the free throw line, hit 6 of those, finished with 18 points, but it's a matter of, you could tell he was off his game a bit. All right? You could tell, I'm not going to go out and say he was rattled, but maybe it was just the whole thing playing at Boston in the playoffs maybe threw him off a bit. And as far as Embiid goes, I mean, the guy played extremely well. But it's like the whole defense thing, okay? They just couldn't cover anyone, guard anyone. Tatum was getting to the hole easily. Rozier was getting anything he wanted. It seemed like Philly had no answer for Al Horford whatsoever, which is just, I don't know, kind of weird to me. All right? And then you guys like Marcus Morris off the bench hitting shots when needed. And with Terry Rozier, I mean, I don't want to come out here with the hot takes or anything like that, but if you're Boston, I mean, you maybe gotta possibly just think about the whole Kyrie Irving thing. Like, Kyrie's got a knee issue. Who knows how long that's gonna bother him for the rest of his career. You got Terry Rozier, who looks like a seasoned vet out there. I think he's in his 4th year right now. All right. And it's a matter of the guy's playing extremely well. And I don't think that, I'd have to double check. I think that Terry Rozier is going to be going into his 4th year next year. I'd have to double check his contract situation. But nonetheless, I mean, if you're Boston, it's either you got to trade him for something great or you got to figure out a way to keep him. Okay? Because the fact of the matter is, the way Terry Rozier has been playing since Kyrie Irving went down, and even then so in the playoffs, has just been ridiculous. Okay? And let me look at his contract right now. I got all the numbers pulled up right now. Terry Rozier, let's see, when does his deal expire? Expires in 2019, so next year's when it expires. If I'm Boston, like I said, either you trade him for something great or you got to figure out a way to keep him. And I would not be opposed, and again, I might just be a prisoner of the moment here, I would not be opposed to the Celtics trading Kyrie Irving, given his little knee issue, and just making Terry Rozier the starting point guard. All right? Because, I mean, in fact of the matter is, you're not going to have to pay Terry Rozier the same money you're going to have to pay Kyrie Irving in 2020. All right? But either way, I mean, with Boston, it's a matter of, like I said, I didn't think they were going to win this game without Jaylen Brown, but they surprised me. You had Horford, who dropped 26, Tatum with 28, and Rozier with 29, and I was kind of nervous to see how Tatum would play because of the fact that he is still a rookie and all that, and the guy just came out and pretty much was a leader. All right? This Celtics team has the next man up mentality, and it's just a matter of, you know what? That's exactly what it's been. Tatum's played well. Rozier's played well. Horford's played well. The entire team has played well. And, I mean, they owe it to Brad Stevens a bit. Okay? The only reason why I picked the Celtics to beat the Bucks in round 1 was Brad Stevens. I did not think that there was a world anywhere where Joe Prunty could outcoach Brad Stevens. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I'm taking the Celtics in 7 games. It's because of the fact that Brad Stevens pretty much knows what matchups work with Ben Simmons as far as who he needs to throw on him to limit him a bit. And I just figure that Brad Stevens is a far superior coach to Brett Brown. And Brett Brown is a great coach, but don't get me wrong, but it's just a matter of Stevens is just that much better. All right. So as far as the series goes, I mean, Celtics are up 1-0. I wouldn't look too deep into it or anything like that. I'm sure Philly is fine. All right, still a long series and all that. Philly wins game 2, and it's pretty much, it's evened up, obviously. All right. But Boston is going to be getting Brown back for game 2. Let's say Boston wins game 2 there. I say that both games in Philly for Philadelphia are must-wins. Because, I mean, coming back to Boston with them up 3-1 is pretty much a death sentence, I feel. All right? That's one thing Philly's got to avoid. It's either you got to win game 2 or you got to take both at home. There's no either or. All right? So I'm not going to go ahead and call game 2 a must-win for Philly yet. I'm not even going to say yet. It's not a must-win for Philly, but it's just a matter of you don't win game 2, then you better get one at home, at least. All right, so we'll see. I mean, maybe it was just a matter of they had too much rest, and that's why they were so rusty during the game. But let's say that they come back the same way in game 2. All right, make it closer maybe, but end up losing, and it looks like Boston still was the better team. They're in trouble. So I really hope that it was just rest that affected them rather than the long rest that affected them rather than they just didn't play well. All right, so we'll see if Ben Simmons steps it up a little bit more in game 2. Joel Embiid, I mean, if anything, he's got to sharpen himself up a bit more on the defensive side because, I mean, as far as on the offensive side, the dude was a beast. So we'll see, but we're going to wrap it up there. Like I said, next up, we're going to be talking more so about the draft, some NFL things, some things that caught my mind today. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. So far today, it's just been NBA. That's all we've talked about so far. Talked about Celtics Sixers Game 1. In the second segment, talked about pretty much, actually did a weekend recap of all the NBA stuff over the weekend for the first segment, and now we're going to head over to the NFL. All right. And with the NFL, obviously, we had the draft ending on Saturday and all that, so I'm going to give my thoughts on what I liked from which teams and all that. I'm pretty much just do like a little overview as far as just the NFL right now. All right. So obviously with the Browns, I mean, they took Baker Mayfield, and it seemed like at the time, like that was a bit of a surprise and all that because of the fact that everyone thought that it'd either be like maybe Sam Darnold or Josh Allen. All right, Mel Kiper. And one thing I've noticed is that I think I saw a stat like Mel Kiper's got like since 2008, he's gotten all the first round picks, right? Or the number one overall picks, right, I should say. And now I realize why. He'll release his pretty much last mock draft, like the day of the draft. Okay. I saw all draft season long, he pretty much had Josh Allen as the number one guy off the board. Okay. At the moment the rumors come out that it's going to be Baker Mayfield, Mel Kiper goes over, let me type up a new first-round mock draft, and boom, he's got Baker Mayfield going number one. All right. And I've never really been a fan of Kiper for the most part. Okay. I feel like I don't want to say anything too mean or anything like that, but it's just like I feel like Kiper gets a lot of credit, probably a little too much credit maybe. And maybe it's just an ESPN thing because they always push him and all that. But nonetheless, I mean, if you're going to go and, like, when the rumor's out, oh, yeah, Mayfield's going one, and pretty much everyone knows it, and then you release a mock draft, oh, yeah, I got Mayfield going number one, like, come on now. All right, come on. Really? Really? But either way, I mean, there's that. But as far as it all goes, I mean, of course, we got the draft over, and now we got all leaks. Oh, this team was going to take this person. That team was going to take that person. Oh, they wanted him. Oh, they wanted him over there. All right, and we had our first story. So Baker Mayfield's agent comes out and says that New England was considering trading for Baker Mayfield and his agent is Jack Mills, I should say. Okay. New England was thinking of trading for Baker Mayfield if he fell to number 2. Because, I mean, we know that the Jets were going to take him at 3, and obviously we know that the Browns wanted him because they took him at 1. But nonetheless, all right, going back to that Baker Mayfield pick with the Browns, if I hear that the Patriots wanted Mayfield, then if I'm the Browns, I'm extremely happy with my pick. And you know what? It seems like Mayfield was the number one guy for every team. Okay? I mean, you saw it. The Jets wanted him. The Jets would have took him. The Browns obviously wanted him, so they took him. The Patriots were thinking of trading up, or at least considering the fact. All right? Miami wanted him. Like, pretty much every team that needed a quarterback wanted Baker Mayfield. And like I said on Friday, I think it was, my thing with Baker Mayfield is that I think that he's a hit or miss prospect. It's either like with some of these prospects, it's like they're not hit or miss. Maybe a year of development or whatever, and they'll get better. But it's just like with Baker Mayfield, I feel that a year of development isn't going to do him any good. I just feel like you throw him out there, you're going to see pretty much like how we saw with Deshaun Watson last season with Houston. You're going to throw him out there, and you're either going to see whether or not you got a quarterback from day one. All right, and I think that's what Baker Mayfield is right here. I think he is one of those hit or miss type guys. There's no in between. And like I said, if I'm Cleveland, I'm extremely happy with my pick, and I do like Cleveland's pick even more because of the fact that this little thing came out that the Patriots were going to trade up for him. All right, obviously Baker Mayfield was the can't miss prospect of the draft. For some reason, Mel Kiper kept trying to sell us on Josh Allen, and with Josh Allen, I mean, he's got the height. He's got the arm strength and all that, but it's like the guy was playing in the Mountain West, okay? Playing in the Fresno States of the world, playing in the San Jose States of the world, okay? And, I mean, he didn't really, as far as affecting wins and losses, they were average, all right? And I understand Wyoming didn't have the best football talent or anything like that, But it's a matter of you got to make the guys around you better, no? I don't know. I figured that might be a good idea. All right. But, I mean, going back to this whole rumor that the Patriots were going to trade up, this shows that obviously maybe Baker Mayfield was the only guy that the Patriots liked. Because I don't think they ended up taking a quarterback in this draft. And for those of you that were paying attention, why do the Patriots keep trading back? Why are they doing this? Why are they trading that? They're building up for next season. I think they got like 2 second-round picks next season. They got a bunch of picks in the top 3, I think. Obviously not in the first round, but more so the second and third rounds, I feel. They're going to be trading up for a quarterback next year for sure. No doubt in my mind, I feel. All right, they were building towards next year, getting Brady's replacement. So there's that, but I do like the Browns pick of Baker Mayfield a whole lot more now since the Patriots wanted him. And that's just it's crazy how the Patriots affect things there. Belichick wants a guy. Now everyone thinks he's one of the best. All right, so the Browns very well could have gotten something there in Baker Mayfield. All right, but let's talk about a couple of what I liked from a couple of teams, and then we'll wrap it up as far as the draft goes. The Bears, okay. They took Roquan Smith, round 1, pick 8. Okay, and then we look at who they had their choice of. Let me see. So before that, Mayfield was, or I'm not even talking bringing up the quarterbacks, but you had Saquon Barkley off the board, Denzel Ward off the board at 4, Quentin Nelson off the board at 6, and then Bills took a quarterback at 7. Then you had Chicago. They had their choice of Roquan Smith, Minkah Fitzpatrick, okay, Derwin James, Tremaine Edmonds, and guys like Vita Vea or De'Aaron Payne. Or De'Aaron Payne. Is it I don't know how to pronounce his first name. All right. And they took Roquan. Roquan Smith, for me, is the best linebacker in the draft and probably one of the best defensive players in the draft. And I think that's a perfect pick right there. That's a game changer on your defense. All right. Their defense already last year was one where they were quick, so they'd get you before you could even take off with the ball. And they forced a lot of turnovers. And I think with Roquan there, they're going to elevate both of those things. I think Roquan's pretty quick. I think he can help them force turnovers. And I just think he's going to be pretty much just... Everyone's been kind of comparing him to like a Ray Lewis type. Not the ability, but just the guy that can go out and change your defense. And I think that's exactly what the Chicago Bears need. And then you go over to round 2, and they take a center out of Iowa. And, I mean, James Daniels. I mean, you could never go wrong with offensive linemen out of Iowa. All right, so obviously you get some help for... Mitch Trubisky, and then you trade up to the 51st pick, and you take Anthony Miller out of Memphis. Okay? Let me tell you this. Anthony Miller and Allen Robinson are going to be a problem for those teams in the NFC. Okay? Anthony Miller is no joke, and the fact of the matter is he could end up being one of the best receivers in this draft. I'm sure of it. All right? I'm very excited for what the Bears got going on this season. Okay? And if you remember me, when I first started this podcast and all that, first started hosting it, middle of the season this past year, I've always been on the Bears bandwagon. All right, the Bears aren't my favorite team or anything like that. Like, that's not even close. Okay, but the fact of the matter is, I always thought that the Bears were going to be a very good team this upcoming season. Not like making the playoffs or anything like that, but they'd be one of those teams where you see them, like, you know how it's getting later on in the season, and you got teams who are in the hunt for wild card spots. Like, they're in the hunt, but you know in reality they're probably not going to make the playoffs, but nonetheless they're still there on the little graphic. That's going to be the Bears, I feel. I think the Bears could easily finish 8-8 this season. Okay? I think they're going to be a very good team. I think Mitch Trubisky's going to play well with Matt Nagy as his head coach, and then you got Mark Helfrich as his offensive coordinator. I think they're going to run a very dynamic spread offense. You got Jordan Howard at the running back position, Anthony Miller, Allen Robinson at your receiver spot. Tariq Cohen is pretty much a playmaker. You could throw him in the slot, or you could just have him run the ball for you. And then you got Roquan Smith leading your defense. This team is going to be very good, and the NFC is going to be ridiculously stacked this year. It is absolutely crazy. All right? Another team I liked what they did was the Miami Dolphins. Somehow, Minkah Fitzpatrick drops to them at 11. They made the smart pick, taking him. Instant starter for day one. Could be an impact player from day one. All right, second round comes. They take Mike Gesicki. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Gesicki. Whatever, either way. It was a top tight end on some draft analyst boards. Supposed to be a guy who's like Jimmy Graham, or even, dare I say, similar to like a Rob Gronkowski type, whereas he's more a receiving tight end. Miami hasn't had a solid tight end in since, Randy McMichael retired, I feel. Like, it's been a while since Miami's had a decent tight end. Okay, and then they take Jerome Baker, linebacker at Ohio State. They add some speed to the defense. Okay, so I like what they did there. I like what the Steelers did taking Mason Rudolph in the draft. I think they took him in the 3rd round, I believe it was. I think that's going to be a nice pick for them because Big Ben's only got about 2 more years left. So that was a solid little pickup. They did trade up for Terrell Edmonds, I think his name was, in the 1st round. That was a bit of a reach there, so we'll see if it ends up working out. The Steelers have never really been a team who drafts well as far as the secondary goes. And then let's see, who else? What else did I like from other teams? I like the Chargers, all right? Getting Derwin James at number 17, at the 17 pick, is probably one of the biggest steals of the draft, to be honest. Probably the most value you could get at that pick, too. All right, he's going to be a starter for them. They already got a solid secondary. They got a solid D-line. Chargers are going to be a very good team this year. Okay. Let's see. What else did I like in the draft? I like Lamar Jackson of Baltimore. I think he's going to be the starter for that team next season. I like what the Bears did. Okay. Getting Mayfield. Getting Ward might have been a reach at 4, but nonetheless, he was probably the top-rated cornerback in this draft. And if he goes out, plays well, then it's not going to be a problem. And then I like getting Nick Chubb with the 35th pick in the 2nd round. We all knew they were taking a running back. It was just a matter of who it was. And Nick Chubb's going to be a very solid player for them. Also getting an offensive lineman with their 1st pick of round 2, within the 33rd pick in Austin Corbett out of Nevada. I think it's going to be a solid pickup too. They're already starting to build up the offensive line for Baker Mayfield. And I'm very curious to see if Baker Mayfield ends up starting week 1. And I also like what the Colts did, getting Braden Smith in the 2nd round at number 37, and then Quentin Nelson at number, 6, 7, or 6? Yeah, in the 1st round. It's about time they finally built up the offensive line for their starting quarterback. What took it so long? But nonetheless, it was a few of the teams I like what they did. Like I said, if the Patriots are trying to trade it for Baker Mayfield, then the Browns made the right pick. So we're going to wrap it up there. Next up, we're going to be talking about pretty much anything else going on in the world of sports. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. So far, it's just been NBA and NFL draft talk, but nonetheless, for this segment, we're going to talk about anything else going on in the world of sports. So let's just jump right into it. All right, yesterday we had a couple of NHL games going on. 2nd round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. We had the Bruins losing to the Tampa Bay Lightning 4-2. All right, that series is currently tied up at 1-1, and then we had the Golden Knights playing the Sharks in Game 3, and the Golden Knights won that one in overtime 4-3. All right. For the Knights, you had William Karlsson, I think, who hit the winner in overtime, and then for the Sharks, you had Hurdle, Kane, and Timo Meier scoring in regulation time for them. All right. Sharks were down. We're up 1-0 at one point in the game. Vegas ends up going up 3-1. And Vegas, when they got these goals, it was pretty much just like boom, boom, boom. Like just quick, just to the point. It was ridiculous. All right, the 3rd period comes. Sharks fight back. You get Kane, who pretty much hits a ridiculous shot, snipes it up into the top right corner. All right, they make it 3-2 there. And then Hurdle scores. It pretty much was basically just like a scrum in front of the goalie. Puck falls in the right spot for him. He ends up hitting it in there. Okay, and then overtime comes. And, Marc-Andre Fleury probably made one of the best saves of the playoffs. Okay. You got Joe Pavelski, who's playing with the puck behind the net, ends up getting it to Logan Couture, I think it was. Couture lines up for the shot, and it's just him and Fleury, too. It's like, 9 times out of 10, any NHL player is going to get this goal. All right, he hits it. You see it going, and you're thinking, for sure, like I said, it's a goal. With where you got the puck, his position, all that, it's got to be a goal. And Fleury somehow makes the glove save, and it was ridiculous how he made that save. Fleury was on another level yesterday. Finished the game with 39 saves. I mean, San Jose getting those 3 goals, like those weren't easy goals either. All right, those were very skillful, all of that, and it's just Fleury was just ridiculous. He's probably the biggest reason as to why they won yesterday. Okay, I understand they scored 4 goals and all that, and they still gave up 3. But in reality, I mean, Fleury was just on another level yesterday. So right now you got Vegas up 2-1, and if I'm San Jose, I mean, you got to win Game 4. You don't win Game 4, the series very well could be over in 5. So we'll see. But let's see. For tonight, we got 2 games. Also, we got Nashville versus Winnipeg. That series is currently tied 1-1, and then we got the Capitals versus the Penguins, and that series is currently tied 1-1. Can the Penguins pull up, get a Game 3 win in Pittsburgh? Who knows? Same with Nashville. They're going to be in Winnipeg, so let's see if they can get a game there. It's going to be interesting. All right, but anyway, that's your little update on the Stanley Cup playoffs. Let's see. We had Champions League going on today, and Real Madrid have advanced to the Champions League final. They ended up drawing with Bayern Munich 2-2 today. Karim Benzema scored both goals for Madrid in the 11th and 46th minute. You had Joshua Kimmich scoring in the 3rd minute for Bayern Munich, and then James Rodriguez scoring in the 63rd. And it just seems like Bayern Munich just couldn't get it done. Okay, had more shots on target. Thomas Muller had a shot at the end, a chance at the end to go out and put him ahead in order to get him the win, but nonetheless, I mean, it didn't work out. Bayern Munich probably played about as well as you could, but the fact of the matter is, I saw it on Karim Benzema's first goal, I think it was, where he got back post. I feel like David Alaba probably should have guarded him a little bit tighter. But nonetheless, I mean, this is going to be, Madrid's 3rd final in the last 4 years, I think it is. And they're going to have the opportunity to play Liverpool or Roma team. And I really hope they end up getting Liverpool, because I feel like that's probably going to be the best final matchup there. And plus, I feel like Liverpool does actually have a chance to go out and knock off a team like Real Madrid, but we'll see. But it's pretty much same thing as last year, all right? Bayern Munich had a chance to advance against Madrid, couldn't do it. And this year, same thing, couldn't do it. As far as Madrid goes, I mean, are they the best team in Europe? You got Barcelona, who have been undefeated so far in the Liga play, but it's just, this is the best of the best in the Champions League here, right? And I figure that Madrid making it to the final kind of elevates them a bit more. And we talked about it yesterday, or I talked about it yesterday on the GSMC Soccer Podcast. I mean, what would you rather win, a Champions League title or a league title? I went with the Champions League title, all right? I mean, sure, winning a league title is nice. You're the best team in that little domestic spot, but heading over into the Champions League, I mean, you're playing the best of the best that Europe has to offer, and you win that. I mean, no one can really take that away from you. So I'd rather win a Champions League, but I mean, everyone's going to have their preference. I'm sure that Barcelona fans would say that they'd rather win the league title, or even Liverpool fans would say they'd rather win the Champions League title, whereas Manchester City fans would say they'd rather win the league title. So I don't know. I guess it's all a matter of who's doing well in what tournament that year. All right, so let's see. Let's see what else is going on in the world of sports. Like I said, tomorrow we got Liverpool versus Roma. Roma's got to score at least 3 at home and pretty much got to give up like 0 goals to Liverpool in order to have a chance. Let's see. Anything else going on? I think that's pretty much it going on in the world of sports right now. Let's see what games we got going on in the NBA tonight. And then we got the Warriors versus Pelicans, and then we got Cleveland versus Toronto for game 1 there. This would be game 2 for New Orleans and Golden State. So yeah, there's only 2 games going on tonight. Let's see. Tomorrow we got Utah versus the Rockets tomorrow. And then Thursday we got Boston versus Philly and Cleveland versus Toronto. But that's for Thursday start times, they're extremely weird. You got Cleveland and Toronto playing at 3 o'clock Pacific time. I don't know. I don't understand that. Maybe it's just because they're playing in Toronto, but I don't know. It didn't make sense to me as far as the time. I get it's 2 East teams, so you got to make the games a little bit early, but I don't know. All right, so we got the Cavs versus the Raptors tonight. I mean, I got to go with the Raptors in that one. I don't trust the Cavs at all in this one. I picked Toronto in 6, but it very well could be in 5, maybe even 4, possibly. All right, and people keep saying, oh, yeah, Cleveland's going to beat Toronto. LeBron's going to do this. LeBron's going to do that. Sure, LeBron can go out and score 40 points a game, but we saw that's only going to get you a win by a few points against Indiana. Toronto's way better than Indiana. If Kevin Love and those other guys don't show up, Cleveland has no chance whatsoever to win this series. All right, so I got to go Toronto tonight. And then we got the Pelicans versus the Warriors. And, I mean, before the series started, you guys heard me. New Orleans, by far, best team in the playoffs as far as the way they played in that first round. Okay? And I figured, you know what? They're going to make it a bit of a series with the Warriors. Maybe they could sneak away and get game one without Steph Curry playing. And that wasn't the case at all. All right. The Warriors absolutely dominated game one. New Orleans had no chance. And it's just like any hope that I had for New Orleans in the series is gone. I mean, I got the Warriors winning this series in 5 games. Okay? I don't know. 5 is kind of bold. I picked Cleveland in 5 last series. They went to 7. Should I say Warriors in 6? Yeah, I'll go Warriors in 6. I'll go Warriors in 5. I don't know. I feel like New Orleans can come out and pretty much switch some things up and figure out what went wrong, but it's just, I'm going to go Warriors in 5. I'm not going to even overthink this. So, yeah, I got Warriors winning this series in 5, and I got them winning tonight. It's just a matter of, Steph's coming back. The Warriors are going to get even better there. And then, like I said, tomorrow we got Utah versus the Rockets, and the Rockets are already up 1-0 in that series. I think that Utah's kind of peaked already in the playoffs, knocking off the Thunder in round 1. Now it's just a matter of you're probably going to lose in 5 games to the Rockets, which that's my pick right there, Rockets in 5. And it's not a problem for Utah either right there. No one probably expected them to come this far, just like no one expected Indiana to even make the playoffs. So as far as Utah goes, you already got your top player in Donovan Mitchell. Now it's just a matter of building around him. Usually you have your rookies playing Summer League, but there's no way Donovan Mitchell or even Ben Simmons play Summer League next year, and even Jason Tatum, I feel. Actually, Brad Stevens might have Jason Tatum play Summer League, but either way, I got the Rockets winning their series in 5. I got the Warriors in 5. I got the Raptors in 6, and then Boston in 7. So let's see if I'm right. I think last series I got the Heat series wrong because I picked them. That was a mistake. I picked the Warriors. I picked the Rockets. I picked the Jazz. I picked the Pelicans, so I got all those series right. And then I picked Cleveland, Toronto, and Boston in there. So pretty much, I'm 7 of 8 so far, 7-1 so far in my series picks. I think I'm going to get mine right this series too. So we'll see. But either way, we're going to wrap it up here today. For the first segment, we did a weekend recap as far as all the NBA stuff that took place. Second segment, we talked about Philly versus Boston. Third segment, we talked about the draft a bit, recapped a little bit of stuff, and then for the fourth segment, we pretty much talked about anything else going on in the world of sports. So thanks for listening to the GSMC Sports Podcast. As always, I am your host, Jesse Tapia. We'll be back tomorrow, so stay tuned, and we'll talk to you later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.